In my clinical practice, specializing in male vitality, neuroendocrinology, and aging, I constantly evaluate the physiological metrics that dictate how men are perceived in social dynamics. When analyzing the interaction between mature men and younger females, the most decisive factor is not aesthetic. It is the neurological weight of your visual engagement. Today, we are dissecting three specific, biologically verified ocular mechanisms that bypass a younger woman's conscious cognitive filtering and directly stimulate her parasympathetic nervous system. These are not behavioral tricks. They are the application of applied neurology to establish immediate, nonverbal biological authority. Pay close attention to the third mechanism I will share today, because it is the exact visual pathway that triggers an involuntary release of oxytocin, fundamentally altering how she processes your presence. I have guided over 200 private clients with this exact profile. The results have been consistent enough for me to keep the foundational biochemical protocol linked in the pinned comment for those who ask. The persistent failure most mature men experience in these interactions is rooted in a fundamental misinterpretation of dominance. You have likely been conditioned to believe that intense, unwavering eye contact projects confidence and power. Perhaps you have tried to hold a prolonged gaze, only to find that it creates an awkward tension or causes the woman to physically withdraw. You did not fail because you lack presence. You failed because you are employing a visual strategy that biologically reads as a predatory threat. Unblinking intensity triggers her sympathetic nervous system, creating a spike in cortisol and initiating a fight-or-flight response. The younger the female, the more sensitive her neurochemistry is to these subtle aggressive cues. True biological magnetism does not stem from visual intimidation. It is born from visual stillness and the deliberate modulation of her neurochemical state. When you remove the anxiety from your gaze, you remove the neurological friction from the interaction, and that is precisely what we are going to calibrate right now. The first mechanism is the elimination of saccadic anxiety through isolated focal anchoring. The modern younger brain is chronically overstimulated, constantly scanning environments through rapid, erratic eye movements known as saccades. This visual jitter is a biological marker of high sympathetic tone and underlying anxiety. To establish immediate authority, you must become the absolute neurological contrast to her baseline environment. When she is speaking, do not scan her face or dart your eyes between hers. Anchor your gaze precisely on the inner corner of her left eye. By eliminating your own saccadic movements, you broadcast a profound internal stillness. This visual stability signals a highly optimized, low cortisol endocrine system. Her brain subconsciously registers your gaze not as a threat, but as an anchor of safety and biological resilience, causing an involuntary relaxation of her defensive posture. The second ocular protocol involves the strategic manipulation of her dopamine circuitry through calculated visual withdrawal. Human neurology is fundamentally wired to pursue validation, and younger nervous systems are exceptionally reactive to dopamine fluctuations. Once you have established that solid anchored gaze, you must periodically disrupt it to create a micro deficit in her neurochemical feedback loop. Deliver a statement, and immediately upon finishing your sentence, slowly break eye contact. Do not look down, which signals submission, and do not look away rapidly, which signals distraction. Slowly pan your gaze past her shoulder, maintaining relaxed facial musculature, as if your attention has been naturally drawn to something in the distance. This deliberate removal of your focus triggers an immediate drop in her dopamine levels, creating a biological compulsion to reclaim your attention. When you languidly return your gaze to hers, you provide a dopamine spike, establishing a biochemical dependency on your visual validation. The third and most potent mechanism is the downward parasympathetic track, specifically designed to initiate the release of oxytocin. This must only be deployed once a baseline of comfort has been established. While maintaining your anchored eye contact, allow your visual focus to slowly descend from her eyes, tracing the center line of her face down to her lips. Hold your focus there for a fraction of a second, and then slowly track back up to her eyes. The critical component of this movement is the simultaneous deceleration of your blink rate. A slow, heavy blink combined with this specific visual path bypasses her prefrontal cortex and directly simulates the visual behavior that precedes physical intimacy. This subtle violation of platonic visual boundaries forces her autonomic nervous system to process the interaction through a lens of physical anticipation. The resulting physiological shift is often immediate, manifesting as localized vasodilation, a slight flush in the neck or chest, or a perceptible change in her respiratory cadence. What we have just mapped out is the precise neurobiological vocabulary of attraction. You are no longer guessing or relying on outdated behavioral scripts. You now understand that maintaining authority is about controlling the neurochemical flow of the interaction through deliberate, calibrated visual pacing. The men who continue to struggle are the ones who allow their own adrenaline to dictate their movements, projecting anxiety instead of grounded masculine presence. You now possess a clinical understanding that the vast majority of men will never access. Master your physiology, apply these principles, and observe the immediate shift in how women respond to your presence. Tell me in the comments below, which of these 3 ocular mechanisms do you realize you have been executing completely wrong your entire life? If you are over 40 and this lack of biological command has been affecting your confidence or the way you navigate social dynamics, the link in the pinned comment is there for you. No pressure, just clinical information.